What's going on, Joey? It's Frank. How are you?
How are you, Frank?
It's very nice to meet you. Looking into you the last couple of days, I feel starstruck. Honestly, I feel like when in the episode with Jericho, when you see Jericho there, and you're like, well, let's have some fun, man. Let's have some fun.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Here we go for another edition of Jofo in the Ring. And yes, my name is Frank Jofo, and I'm on a boat, and we got Kyle Moore in the studio. Kyle.
That's right. I am in the studio. I am not on the boat, and we got a very special episode for you today. We have author, we have actor, drummer, wrestling fan, and friend of Le Champion, Joey Cassata. We are going to be talking all kinds of things, from touring with Kiss to his reaction to the dinner debonair last night on AEW Dynamite. It's going to be a fucking great episode, and I'm excited. Let's jump into it, Frank.
Special guest, Joey Cassata. Here he is, and Kyle Moore as well in studio. What's going on, Joey?
Woo! What's up, guys? Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Hey, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
We know you're a busy guy, so we wanted to get you in here as fast as we could.
I appreciate it. The ultimate male against the ultimate meatballs, right?
Thunder lips, baby. In the flesh, baby. Love it. So, welcome to the show. I'm not sure if you've seen any of our episodes in the past, but here we don't censor ourselves at all. So, if you're going to say something, just don't be afraid to say it. The name of the show is Jofo in the Ring. Jofo stands for just our fucking opinion. And you can't get mad at somebody for having an opinion, right?
Listen, I totally agree. There's no reason to censor. In today's day and age, everything else is censored. You don't have to be censored too, right?
Our wrestling is censored, for Christ's sake.
Exactly.
Like, I can't, like, if you look at wrestling now compared to, like, way back, like, for when you and I grew up watching it, it's completely different. It's so watered down, and
I like to call it neutered. It's so overly processed and overly thought out. There's no, fly by the cuff, fly by the seat of your pants promos or anything like that. That's what it's missing today. I mean, listen, I'm still a fan. I still watch wrestling, but without that spontaneity, without that little bit of, you never know what's going to happen, it loses that magic.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. I find they're slowly starting to get back with the anything can happen. Like the last I don't know if you're up to date on like nowadays wrestling. You called it neutered, so obviously you're watching it a little bit.
Yes.
But the last couple of Raws and SmackDowns haven't been that bad. NXT's always been great, so we're not even gonna mention how that needs to improve because it doesn't. It's fine, I find. But Raw and SmackDown have been fantastic lately. I don't know about you, but
yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they call it the season premiere, I guess, of Raw and stuff. I caught that. Yeah, I love the stuff with the Fiend. I love it felt a little bit fresher than usual. So I'm hopefully things are moving in the right direction. Maybe AEW is going to push them a little bit. Maybe the whole wrestling landscape is going in the right direction. I was a really big fan. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it of the NWA Power Show on YouTube. I love that. I was such a big fan. It just felt very fresh, very old school, but very new again. Those guys would come out from behind the curtain. They would have the crowd right in front of them, and you can see them changing what they were going to do and say in complete response to what the crowd was giving them. So I miss that.
Yeah. And that was another thing, too. I was at the beginning of the pandemic when they were just doing it in the Performance Center. AEW was doing it, no crowds, nothing. It wasn't working, and then AEW just decided to start putting wrestlers in the stands, and then they figured it out. And now WWE is just kind of now catching up to it they got the Thunderdome, which I find is fantastic. Like I know the crowd responses are kind of like on a button, but
At least the Thunderdome makes it look a little bit different. The problem that I was having before they did the Thunderdome stuff was when they would do promos, they didn't change their shtick. They basically were still trying to talk to a non-existent crowd. They were looking around. They're so scripted right now, coming up through the Performance Center and stuff, that they only know how to deliver promos one way, and that was to an audience. So they were still going through that routine, but it wasn't working because they were looking at no one. So it just fell flat. Now at least they're looking at faces in the crowd in the Thunderdome, and it's working a little bit.
Yeah, thank God. I mean, like the having them in behind like the hockey boards was all well and good. Like it worked good for when like Retribution came in and beat the hell out of everybody. That was fine. But I don't know. Again, it felt like too forced. You know, it wasn't genuine.
Yo, I have to just chime in here quick because I love the way that you said that you love the improvisation of old school wrestling. And after listening to your book literally like yesterday and today, I just remember when you said your first performance at your talent show at school is when you learned the importance of improvisation in your performance, which made you kind of like fall in love with performance and stuff like that. And I just found it cool that you said improvisation is one of the things that you used to love about wrestling.
And it's so true. It's exactly like you said. You know, I learned it at a very early age. What he's referring to is I was in a 6th grade talent show with my buddies. We were Kiss. And, you know, I'm a huge Kiss fan. So we had to do everything exactly like, you know, we planned out. And the audience, you know, kind of wasn't responding to us. And one of my buddies who was playing the lead singer, Paul Stanley, kind of went off the cuff and started sticking his tongue out like Gene Simmons would. And I was actually very upset about it because that's not something Paul Stanley would ever do. And you know, it turned out that the crowd loved it and just went with it and enjoyed it. And, you know, from an early age, I realized you can never be so on script that you can't just change on the fly to what's happening. And that's kind of, you know, what my whole show, Wrestling with Joeylicious, is about too. The way we film our episodes, I outline a script. You know, my buddy and I, we write our scripts. We have all the outlines. We know we want to get to from point A to point B to point C to point D. But, you know, we give the wrestling legends that we have on board with our show acting freedom to kind of figure out how we're going to get to all the bullet points.
Speaking of those, I watched a bunch of them today. I watched the Iron Sheik one was hilarious. You look like Hulk Hogan's girlfriend. Yeah, and the ending caught me completely off guard. I like how you kind of teased it at the beginning with someone taking a shit and you asked them for the courtesy flush, and then at the end it turns out it's fucking Nikolai Volkov in there taking a shit. Oh, I
knew that smell wasn't American.
A great story behind that. So again, when we film these episodes, you know, obviously we have a production crew, we have a lights and sound. You know, it's a big deal, even though they're 5-6 minute shorts. It still takes, you know, a big process and a big ordeal to kind of plan one of these things. So, you know, when we were planning the shoot with the Sheik, his manager kind of informed us that, you know, the Sheik is a little bit, you know, temperamental. So you never know what you're going to get the day of the shoot. So there's a chance he might not do it. And I was like, what are you talking about? He might not do it. You know, I have my whole crew, lights and cameras, and you know, if we're going to come there, he's got to do it. So long story short, on the day of the shoot, his manager informed me, listen, you know, we don't think the Sheik is going to do it. He's a little bit, you know, he's a little fussy today. So I'm not even going to bring it up to him. I'm so sorry. Now, I was already set up in the men's bathroom to do this shoot in the same club that the Sheik was performing at that night. And I literally ran into the other room, grabbed the Sheik. He was in a wheelchair. I grabbed him by the wheelchair and literally just rolled him onto set. I didn't even ask him. I just took him onto my set. And the funny story is Nikolai Volkov was not originally in that shoot. When I grabbed the Sheik by the wheelchair, Nikolai Volkov was actually with the Sheik that day, and he was running behind us screaming, "Can I be in it? Can I be in it too?" And we wind up writing him into the episode on the fly like that.
That's amazing.
Improvisation, like you said.
Exactly right.
That's great.
My God. The Sheik. So basically, the Sheik is he the same way in real life as he is on Twitter and how he was on the set?
So, you know, like I said, his manager informed me that he was very temperamental. But with us, he was an absolute sweetheart. Was he nuts? Of course he was nuts, but he was a sweetheart. Like, for instance, in that episode, it starts off that the Sheik is, I'm sure you guys have seen it, the Sheik is at the urinal, and I'm kind of in the bathroom mirror, looking in the bathroom mirror. And, you know, when we started the shoot, you know, we kind of explained this to the Sheik what the first shot was. And the Sheik, being the Sheik, went over to the urinal, pulled down his pants, and started, you know, using the urinal. We're like, whoa. This is acting. We don't need you to really have your pants down. We can pretend. It's okay.
We'll CGI the piss in later. Don't worry.
Exactly.
So when you asked him about the tablecloth on his head, did you ask him for permission before you said that, or was that off the cuff?
Funny story. So the way we filmed that episode, because like I mentioned before, with improv and the tricks of the camera, the Sheik went so far off of script. Again, we had a script, but the Sheik was so off cuff with the script. We actually had to go back and film my scene with a stand-in actor with that turban on his head, because there were so many lines that the Sheik was delivering off the cuff with improv. I had to go back and rewrite the whole episode based on what he was saying to me. So when I said that line about the tablecloth, that wasn't really the Sheik in that scene.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. I was sitting there watching you said, I'm like, the balls on this guy.
Oh
Jesus.
my God.
He was totally okay with everything.
Oh, okay.
And as well, you had Rowdy Piper as well. And I know that that was his last TV pilot that he did with you, right?
It was, so Roddy, we've been developing this show for quite a few years now, and Roddy was one of the early supporters of the show. He was fully on board for the show. He was going to be a full-time star of the show, not only a guest star, but really one of the main 5 stars of the show. Roddy was going to be on every episode, and he was so excited about the show, because one of the main reasons I did, not only this show, because I'm a big wrestling fan, of course, but these 80s and 90s wrestlers, obviously they can't wrestle anymore, but they're still such talents in front of the camera that people don't realize they are some of the funniest, smartest, fastest comedians that you'll ever find, because they've been doing live promos for 20 years in front of a live audience.
They're heroes.
And they're so quick-witted that I wanted a little outlet for them to showcase their talents. And Roddy was one of my absolute favorites growing up, and he, exceeded all expectations when we worked with him.
Well, we know which one your favorite was, because I also listened to starting with A Dream, and Jimmy Snuka was your favorite as well. Was your number one favorite? Did Jimmy Snuka ever tell you about the background story of the Roddy Piper with the coconut and then hitting him off the head with the coconut?
Well, he gave me a few little insights, was everyone always used to ask him, because when we filmed with Jimmy, was the first shoot we ever did. And to get my first wrestling hero on a show that I wrote, I wrote it in my living room on my couch. I was writing this episode with Jimmy Snuka, never knowing if he would, come on board or not. And when we finally reached out to him and his wife were absolute sweethearts. They loved the concept. They loved the idea of the show. And, when I kind of gave him the gist of, I wanted him to, of course, hit me with a coconut by the end of the episode, I had to ask him, I said, I can't, I don't think I can let you hit me with a solid coconut. I'm assuming you'll either kill me or I'll be knocked out, right? And he was like, yeah, brother, you can score up the coconut, you cut it up a little bit, you get the slices in it, you have it so it's ready to break, then you smash it. So, I don't give any, secrets away, but I have a feeling it wasn't a solid coconut that he got blasted with.
I don't care how hard they play off a Samoan's head to be. There is no way that he's getting up from a coconut to the head. I'm sorry.
No way. There's no chance.
No. Oh, no. So you said growing up, Snuka was your favorite. Is there anybody now that you kind of have your eye on as your favorite?
I mean, I'm still a big fan. I'm still loving everything that Chris Jericho does. All the way from last night's
oh my God
Broadway number with MJF. I tweeted it out. I watched it at about 3 a.m. last night, and I had to tweet it out immediately. It just felt so refreshing. It was so ridiculous, so over the top that I said, you know what? And much like my Wrestling with Joeylicious show, that's what we're trying for. We're trying to be this tongue-in-cheek, not take wrestling so serious, not be so scripted and ridiculous. I love high spots as much as the next guy, but I can't see the same guy jump over the top rope and have 5 guys catch him every night. I don't want to see that. I want to see more scripted stuff. I want to see more backstage stuff. I want to see more stuff like Jericho and MJF did last night.
Yeah, you want to be entertained.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Joey, did you have you worked in Broadway, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to get you to you being the Broadway specialist out of us. What would you rate Jericho's Broadway and MJF's Broadway performance last night on 10?
Well, the first thing that I called him about, I texted him this morning and I said, dude, how, I couldn't tell if it was filmed, live or if they recorded it. So I had to ask him, because if they did that live, it was spectacular either way.
It was.
But if they did it live, one take, because it was a fluid take almost, if they did it live, like I think they did it, it was absolutely spectacular, and it does deserve a Tony nomination.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of, remember the old Bugs Bunny and Tweety show with the intro where they'd come on and overture, curtains, lights. It's fantastic. Me and my buddy were losing our minds watching it.
He told me they basically took it straight from the end of the Blues Brothers movie, which was, when they do like Minnie the Moocher with them. He said he lifted almost that whole the whole scene right from that.
It's fantastic. Fantastic. So Frank brought up the book. If you want to let us know where we can find it, where everybody else can find it.
Right. So I don't know if you might be referring to 2 books. I know your producer is referring to my first book, which was Start with the Dream. Right. So Start with the Dream is my autobiography, which is right here.
And we're going to put a link in when we post the show.
Awesome. So this is available on Amazon. This is kind of the history of my life. It's called Start with the Dream, a drummer's journey from rock and roll to TV to Broadway. And it kind of goes through my history as a musician and, my dream as a kid of being a musician and growing up in the 80s and loving not only rock music, but wrestling. And the whole book is really about me loving and dreaming of becoming either a musician or a wrestler. It just so happens that in my real life, I went the musician route. I became, a national touring drummer, a recording drummer. I was on Broadway for years. I still am on Broadway, hopefully when it reopens. So my next book, which is what we're also referring to, Wrestling with Joeylicious, this is kind of the alternate reality. This is what if I didn't become a successful musician and I went the route of becoming a professional wrestler. So this is it's heavily based on my real life. A lot of the occurrences in here are based on my real life. The Scally character, the mom character, all true characters in my real life. Even the shorts have a lot of, real life stuff in them, but it is the alternate reality of what my true life is.
And we got we ordered the Wrestling with Joeylicious. It's coming Monday. We're from Montreal, so it's going to take a couple of extra days there. But like I said, listening to the Starting with the Dream, honestly, I'm a Sicilian. I'm a Sicilian kid. My parents are pure Sicilian, and your mother, honestly, it reflects the same exactly like my mother. She would do anything for me and everything, and honestly, like mad respect for your mother, man. Mad respect.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. And that whole book is really about, kind of when we started. I don't know if you were recording it, but you mentioned how, I kind of I'm a hustler. And that's really what, that's what the book is about. It's about, fulfilling your dreams no matter what it is. There's no reason, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, there's no reason to give up. If you want to become a professional wrestler or a drummer or a musician or a Broadway star or a podcaster, whatever you want to do in life,
exactly.
You just keep striving towards it, because when you stop going for it, that's the only time you fail. If you keep going every day and you try to get that dream to become a reality, no matter what, you're succeeding every day because you're pushing forward.
Exactly. Yeah.
And on the you met we're big fans of the SDR show with Big J.
Yes.
How was it? Because honestly, I saw him on the credits, but I didn't expect him to be the character he was in the show when you guys did the Z-Rock show, which is another great show. How is he on set? How is he how is he behind the scenes? He's a really funny guy, but his character in that show was really amazing. He played it amazing.
I call Big J, and this is no exaggeration, he's the funniest human being I've ever been around in real life. Just all day on set funny. And the show you're referring to is my old sitcom that was on IFC called Z-Rock. We were on for 2 seasons. It was based around my band ZO2. We were a rock band at night and a kids band during the day, which is truly based on our real lives. We really did that in real life. It wasn't a reality show. It was a semi-scripted comedy. Big J wound up playing one of the gay club owners that would kind of book us for our performances, that he was kind of in love with our lead singer. Yeah. And Jay was just one of the funniest people to be around every day. If you go to either Amazon or even my YouTube page, all the Z-Rock episodes, all first 2 seasons are streaming. There's like 22, 23 episodes, I believe, all streaming on there. Big J is nonstop funny, and even funnier than him on the episodes is after some of the episodes you'll see some bloopers. And
the deleted scenes are awesome.
Yeah, that was the first thing I went for.
The bloopers, it was so funny because, most of it was improv, and it was, a lot of the dialogue wasn't scripted, and Jay would just come out with so much funny stuff. We had to break character and laugh all the time. We had to keep retaking scenes over and over again.
I could imagine with a guy like that, you're just dying of laughter every second of the day. It's hard to keep it in, I guess, eh?
Oh, it's impossible. And that's what would happen. He would say so many funny one-liners that none of our reactions in the show wind up being first takes because we could never hold it together. So he would have to redo it, and it was never as funny the second time. But luckily, we would be able to hold it together at least.
So, growing up as a rock fan and obviously a wrestling fan, what were your thoughts on the Kiss Demon of WCW then?
That's a great question. So, being especially in the '90s, being a huge Kiss fan, the reunion, and I was actually a tremendous WCW fan. I loved WCW way more than WWF back in those years, and I was super excited for the Demon. I had my reservations, which really all became reality when we finally saw him, and it didn't work. And, unfortunately, it just didn't work. I like the concept behind it, but it was doomed for failure. I get the whole, cross branding and having Kiss involved. I love Kiss performing on, Nitro and stuff, but it just didn't work.
Yeah, no, it had so much potential too, but then everybody just assumed it was just another Kiss money grab, but
yeah, which it was.
Oh, absolutely.
No kidding,
I mean, if they're the kind of people that make a comic book with their own blood, they're gonna tap into wrestling somehow and get some money off of there.
Speaking about Kiss, one of my friends is a big Kiss fan, and when I told him I was having you on, he wanted to ask you a couple of questions. His name is Danny Malazzi. He's a drummer as well, and he'd like to congratulate you on a fantastic career. And as a fellow drummer, he appreciates your work immensely. He wants to ask you, what's it like touring with Kiss, seeing the Superman sheet and knowing they're right behind that in the dressing room, getting ready for a show? What does that feel like?
So, my book, Start With the Dream, starts with me, going to see Kiss when I was 5 years old. I was 5 years old. I had no idea what I was doing. I went to Madison Square Garden. I grew up in New York. And I really had no idea why I was even going there. And when Kiss hit that stage, my life was forever changed. I saw these superhero characters on stage, and I got a hit with this wave of music that it forever changed my life. And, my dream from that moment on was to hopefully become a member of Kiss, or next best thing, go on tour with Kiss. And, luckily for me, I did get to live that dream. And when I got the call that, my band ZO2 is going on tour with Kiss, my mind was completely blown. It was nonstop, it was euphoria for 3 months. We were on the road with them for 3 months. We did, 50 shows with them. And every day, the question was asked if, what it was like seeing the Superman curtain. Basically, Kiss's dressing room is separated by, they've had this Superman curtain throughout all their career in the 70s, all the way up to now. And it would separate them because they always said to themselves, once we enter the dressing room to put our makeup on, as Clark Kent, we kind of come back as Superman in Kiss makeup. So, I would pass by that curtain every day. We had strict rules. Do not go past that curtain because no one was allowed in but the band. But we, especially with my big Italian nose, I would always try to stick it through the curtain every day to kind of get a glimpse of them every day. And, Gene would scream at me, "Get out of here. What are you doing in here?" But, just every day was a dream come true being with them.
Just one last question for my buddy Danny Malazzi. You wanted to know favorite Kiss drummer. His guess would be the OG Peter Criss, but Eric Carr is a solid 1A. He rejuvenated Chris. Rest in peace, Eric Carr, he said. So which one would be the better drummer?
It's such a hard question. I grew up because my first concert I did see Peter Criss, and Peter Criss actually did the forward to my book.
I noticed that, yeah.
Right there, which is amazing. For me to come full circle and have my idol do the forward to my life story was, a dream come true. But because I was such a youngster, I was 5 years old when I saw Peter the first time. I really grew up in the 80s, which is when Eric Carr became the drummer. So Eric Carr would be a bigger influence on me than Peter Criss, just because, I got to see Eric through his current years in Criss, where Peter, besides the reunion tour, was always, the history of Kiss and the vintage Kiss. So, not that he's my favorite or he's the best. I hate calling anyone the best, but Eric would be the bigger influence on me.
Okay. And any thoughts on the Eddie Van Halen and the drummer and the drummer Alex Van Halen as well?
Oh, I mean, Eddie Van Halen, now rest in peace, God rest his soul. But Alex, it's amazing that Eddie, of course, gets all the accolades. He's the guitar god, but Alex is just as amazing in the drum world as Eddie was in the guitar world. And people don't realize that Alex came up with so much, influential stuff, whether it was his drum sound, which is still one of the most, impossible drum sounds to duplicate today. Alex had such an influence on that generation, on the drummers, just as much as Eddie had on the guitar players.
Yeah, I think it was Bill Burr on his podcast a couple days ago. He was talking about Eddie and Alex Van Halen. It was super interesting, especially if you don't know, right? Like you think like Eddie Van Halen, he's this huge guitar god, but then he also has a brother,
right,
who's just as like a drum god, essentially, right? Like it's like being Peyton Manning's parents. Like oh yeah, I got all these successful kids. This is fantastic. I'll never pay a bill again.
It's incredible too, because they played off of each other so well. When anyone, obviously me being a drummer, I've covered Van Halen songs for years, and it's so hard to duplicate what Alex is playing because him and Eddie would just lock into these weird rhythms, especially during solo sessions, where they're so hard to duplicate because it's just their own thing, and they would lock in with like this blood brother type of vibe that you can't duplicate.
I'm a big Chris Jericho fan, true, far and true. I know that Sebastian Bach was on Z-Rock as well.
Yes.
What's the whole beef? Did you hear about that beef that they had on Twitter?
Of course, I hear about it. Of course.
Yeah. What do you think about this? Because I'm sure you've heard Chris Jericho sing on somewhere, and so I'm sure you know the answer of if Chris Jericho is the real deal.
It's unfortunate because I think Chris is fortunately and unfortunately, I don't want to paint him a bad picture. He's this superstar wrestler is what he's known for. So I think he gets this rap of being a wrestler. He can't be a rock star too. He can't be a legitimate singer, which is such horse shit. He is absolutely not only a phenomenal vocalist. I've been on stage with him. I was on the last cruise with him. I did a song. We did a Kiss song together. I did Cold Gin with him and his band Fozzy. And he is and then he came up with one of my bands and we did Crazy Train together. So, not only have I heard Chris sing live, at a concert, but I've heard him sing right next to me. And he is an absolutely phenomenal singer, live, studio, however you want to call it. So, for Sebastian to say, oh, he sings to tracks and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, a lot of guys sing to tracks with backing tracks and, different instruments and tracks and keyboards and stuff, but it doesn't mean vocals are in there all the time. he might have some backing tracks, which I don't know for sure, but he might have some backing vocals in there. But his vocals are live, and I've seen him and heard him. Like I said, the whole cruise. I was standing next to him as he was singing. Trust me, he was singing live.
I remember a couple years ago, he was doing a feud with John Cena. This was right around when John Cena had the rap album. So they had like a little battle of the bands on Raw. And they had Jericho out first. Obviously, him being the heel, he's going to get booed. And John Cena being the face, he's going to get cheered, right? But Jericho just went in there. And I think this was right around the time Enemy had just come out.
Yes.
And they did that, and he actually just destroyed him, too. Like, it was to the point where people were still. This was before booing John Cena was like the thing to do, the popular thing. He's fantastic. I remember listening to him like years ago when he was still going by Moon Goose McQueen.
and it's funny because on the Twitter war with Sebastian, he challenged Sebastian to a sing-off, and if Sebastian thought he could kill him, and listen, don't get me wrong, Sebastian has an amazing rock voice. A timeless rock voice. I've played with Sebastian many times on stage too. It's same exact thing. Believe it or not, we jammed on Kiss songs, of course. But Chris challenged him to a sing-off, and no response. So I think Chris won the argument. If Sebastian wants to try to battle him, let's see it done.
Exactly. Yeah. Just put up or shut up, and I guess he shut up.
Exactly, and he shut up quick too.
Just a bit off topic. I know you're from New York. Are you a Ranger fan?
I'm a big Ranger fan. Absolutely.
Wow.
Number one pick, baby.
I've been a Ranger fan since '92 when Mark Messier came to town.
I've been to the Molson Center to see them play many times.
Wow,
I traveled up to Montreal to see them all the time. And then we would go ahead. I'm sorry.
Did you go to the parade in '94?
Of course. Are you kidding? Of course. Yeah. Absolutely. I wish I had a couple more since then, but I remember the '94 parade like it was. I actually, worse than the parade, for some reason, I remember being in Florida with one of my friends, and it was during Game 7 of the Devil series that year to get to the Cup. And we were celebrating. We were ready to go out and party for the night, and the Devils tied it with like 3 seconds to go that Game 7. And we would just I still feel the heartache when they tied that score.
That puke feeling.
It was the worst feeling in the world. But then, luckily they scored in overtime and, then beat the Canucks in the Cup. So, yes, huge Ranger fan.
I think Frank still has stock in Lay's because of Mark Messier. So touring with Kiss, you must have some good stories.
Like I said, it's funny. Everyone always says what were the shows like? What were the crowds like? They were amazing, of course, but weirdly enough, that was the least exciting experience for me. It was hanging with them every day. Talking to Gene backstage. We would have lunch every day. Debate, the color of, the grass. So, Gene would debate anything and everything. So, the fun times that I had with Kiss, I'm a big wiffle ball fan. I play wiffle ball with my buddies all the time. We got a chance to play Kiss in wiffle ball backstage one day with my band. And, we played against Gene, Paul, and Eric Singer. And, stuff like that, you just can't even dream of as a kid. You dream of being on stage with Kiss, but you can't dream of, throwing a curveball to Gene Simmons and him being pissed at you for striking him out.
Yeah, no kidding. I used to work at a theater a couple years ago here in Montreal, and Gene Simmons and his wife were in town. They actually came by, so I got to meet him. Never realized how tall that guy was.
Oh my God, his wife too.
Yeah, monsters.
Really?
Like Jesus. Yeah, like I'm like 6'1", but Jesus Christ, that guy was huge.
Yeah, Gene's a big guy, and then then when you see him, I don't know if you've ever met them in makeup before, but they're like seven and change in makeup, so they're intimidating figures.
Yeah, no kidding. Jesus Christ.
What about I know Mick Foley was there too. Tell us a little bit about Mick Foley. Did he tell you like a little bit of a backstory of when he got thrown off the cage and how he felt, like really how he felt? Because honestly, when I saw that, I'm still in awe. I know because Hell in a Cell is this weekend, but just knowing that he got thrown off that cell, that's the real deal. There's no fake behind that, So
And I just
tell you
love
he-
he kept exaggerating the feet on the episode too.
And it's funny because again, you know, like we've been mentioning improvisation the whole time. That whole story was complete improv by him. That was not written in the script at all. And you know, I have other footage where we actually trimmed the story down. That was about a 1.5-minute story originally. He had so much exaggeration inside of his story that we actually had to trim it down because it was too long. But you know, I have all of that behind the scenes footage. But he was so amazing. Again, these guys are so talented. Mick was easily the quickest wit person, that I've worked with on that before, because everything he said was just so natural. For your viewers that haven't seen the episode yet, it's streaming on Amazon Prime, and I don't think it actually streams in Canada, so you can find it on my YouTube page.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yep. On my YouTube page, you can find all the episodes of Wrestling with Joeylicious too. Just type in Joeylicious, Mick Foley. The episode kind of is a playoff of when he meets Vince McMahon in the hospital bed, with Mr. Sacco, that first scene. So we kind of did a little playoff that where Joeylicious is in the hospital bed. He's wearing his boas, and Mick Foley kind of comes in and tries to teach him about being hardcore. And Joeylicious is half an idiot, so he immediately tries to pretend that he is hardcore by smashing a thing of milk on his head. And Mick goes into this improv skit about milk and being lactose intolerant, and how, and I say, Mick, what am I supposed to drink? My belly hurts. And he says the line where you should drink almond milk. And again, none of this was scripted. And I said, almond milk? How do you make milk from almonds? And Mick goes on to say, well, Joey, and he's totally straight-faced saying this, well, Joey, as you know, almonds have no nipples, so you can't milk. And, he's just so off the cuff in everything that he did. Same thing like, on the set with Big J on Z-Rock. We had to keep refilming the scenes because he was so funny.
The ending of that is what kills me, when your mom walks in and you're sucking on some old guy's toe and you keep calling him a Mick. He's like, he's racist. I'm not even Irish. He's calling me a Mick. Oh, I was crying.
So,
it was
for your viewers who don't know the premise of the show. The premise of Wrestling with Joeylicious is, I'm in my mid-40s now. I'm trying to still become a professional wrestler. It's my dream. I've always wanted to become a professional wrestler. I've never succeeded, obviously. I'm still wrestling in like grammar school gyms for, second graders and nuns. And, I'm still trying to climb that wrestling ladder to hopefully make it to the big time one day. And along this journey, in this independent wrestling scene, wrestling legends from the 80s and 90s kind of appear to me in my imagination to kind of guide me along my journey. It never works out to Joeylicious's benefit, of course. It always winds up sabotaging anything he's trying to get his hands on, whether it be Mick Foley at the end. I think Mick Foley is there, and I keep calling him Mick. At the end of the scene, it's revealed Mick is never really there. I'm really just, fighting this old man, this old Irish guy in my next bed, and I'm calling him Mick the whole time.
So for Mankind, I noticed Mick Foley, he had a doctor's mask with a smiley face. Was he not allowed to get the actual Mankind mask? Yeah. Eh?
Yes, and if you notice, he doesn't say have a nice day. He says what does he say? Have a good afternoon. I forget what he says.
Have a good afternoon, I think he says.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the smiley on the mask is kind of like a wink.
Mankind was the only character that he doesn't own the copyright to. So we couldn't use the Mankind character. We could use Dude Love he owns. Obviously, Mick Foley, he owns. It's his own name. And even Cactus Jack, he owns those characters. He doesn't own the Mankind character. It's owned by WWE. So we couldn't use the Mankind name and or any of his catchphrases.
But he could use Sacco.
But he could use Sacco, right? I don't think he doesn't refer to him as Sacco, I believe. He just has the sock.
He just holds a random sock in his back pocket, ready to give someone a sock.
I'm
he
sure
always
he
has one ready
him
to
at all
go.
times. Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine the people that just come up to him and like when he's like at like McDonald's or whatever? Hey, sock, and he just whips it out, eh? 100% he does that.
Luckily, it was a clean sock that day too, because it was in my mouth quite a bit.
So you didn't get the full wrestling experience where it's covered in like a 20-minute of sweat. No, thank you.
I know you watched the 30-year special, and you had a little tidbit to say to Chris Jericho, thanking him for 30 years. What was the whole deal with you not getting on TV? Because I know I could tell you and Chris Jericho are really good friends, because the way you guys make fun of each other, the same way I make fun of my friends. Like we do the same shtick, So I know you guys are good friends. So what was the whole thing with that?
Well, that son of a bitch has been jealous of this beautiful nose of mine for years. So, he tries to always come back with some nose jokes that, are kind of played out by now. But yeah, I recorded something for him for his 30th anniversary in wrestling. And, he's ribbing me that unfortunately he had to cut. I think he even posted it on his Instagram or Twitter. I forget what he posted it on. That he had to cut me for Slash because Slash works cheaper, which is true. I obviously.
One thing I feel we could all relate to that I found funny in your book, the first one, obviously, when you said that in the year, like in the 2000s, the Attitude Era ish, when you said you used to love coming back to your rental house in the Hamptons with your boys from drinking and partying, and do wrestling events drunk on each other at the end of the night. And I don't know, that was just one of those little things that just got me laughing, because like literally, like deep into our 20s, we've all had those nights where you just come back and like you were saying, you just throw your friend on the floor, try to get him in the figure four.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's all of us, all of us wrestling fans. What do? We pretend we're wrestlers. Like even when Frank just took a swig of that water just now, I was expecting him to hold it in his cheeks and spit it out like Triple H. You know what I mean? So, I everything that I see reminds me of something in wrestling all day long. So, when the part of the book that you're referring to is, whenever, this Joeylicious character, I created this character when I was a kid, much like, Mick Foley did with Dude Love. And, I would go out to bars and stuff, and I would wear my boas, and I would beg the bouncer, can you please choke slam me over the fence and throw me out of the bar? And, I would try to do stuff to get thrown out of the bar, so they would choke slam me out of the bar. I was begged for it. And, we would come back to the house, and we were all drunk, of course, having a great time. We would throw on, the WWE soundtrack at the time from the, the mid 2000s with The Game and, Motorhead and all of, Kurt Angle's music. And we would just come in and we would have a giant wrestling match, and we would be destroying each other. Who would be jumping from the balcony onto the mattresses, or I would have someone in a figure four. It's just the fun that I think all of us guys had as wrestling fans. And even growing up, I had my own wrestling league in my house. We had a room in my house that was a completely empty room that I called my spare room. And, I filled the room with wrestling mats wall to wall. And I renamed it, and I even had it on the door, Madison Square Room.
That's amazing.
We would literally have battle royal matches where to win, you'd have to throw your friends out of the room, and that's how you'd win. So, growing up, we're all the same idiots that are just loving wrestling our whole lives. And, I just happened to take it to the next level and write a TV show and a book about it. My wife always jokes with me that there's no TV show, there's no real book. You just want to play with your wrestling legend friends and have them put wrestling holds on you. And in a way, she's right.
I mean, not only that, but now you have adult money, you can actually accomplish that kind of shit.
Exactly right. And I have some clout in the TV world too, where, these wrestlers are reaching out to me to be part of the show. Once
that's amazing.
Once I had Chris Jericho on Z-Rock, and then once we got Jimmy Snuka on board with Wrestling with Joeylicious, I was getting calls. I would wake up, to a text message in the middle of the night from Ric Flair saying, hey, talk to Carol Snuka about the show. I love the idea. I want to be a part of it. Let's set up talk. Or I would get a message from Jimmy Hart, Mouth of the South, leaving a voicemail on my phone. And he'd be like, hey, baby, you can't have Wrestling with Joeylicious without Jimmy Hart, baby. Give me a call back. And he left me like a 4-minute voicemail where he probably said 700,000 or 800,000 words.
Wow.
Oh,
and the whole coronavirus literally put a fork in the production and everything of Wrestling with Joeylicious, if I understand that right.
Yeah, I mean, that's really this was never meant to be a book. I mean, it's a book now. Crazy enough, it was the #1 best-selling wrestling book the first few weeks that it came out.
Congratulations,
I loved even though Jericho's book is old now, I was ribbing him that it kind of beat him in the rankings. But it was never meant to be. It was never meant to be a book. It's a full-fledged television show, streaming or network, depending on where we officially get it picked up. Amazon Prime luckily picked up the shorts for distribution. Hopefully they're going to pick up the full series, which will be 30-minute episodes for a whole season. But, because of COVID, all production, everything halted, and, nothing is being filmed right now. So, my partner and I, we said, well, let's pivot. Let's write the novelization of what Joeylicious' first season on television will be. And that's kind of what the book is about. It's really the first season of Wrestling with Joeylicious. It's actually the first half of the first season, because this book ends on a kind of cliffhanger with Chris Jericho, by the way, who is a big part of the second book and the second half of season 1. This is kind of the first 5 episodes of Wrestling with Joeylicious, of what it will be once production starts up again.
Who do you have
I can't wait
your
to get
sights
it.
on for the remaining
Amazon
episodes?
there, but-
I can't wait to get it.
I'm sorry, what were you saying? I'm sorry, sir.
I said
do you-
I ordered it off Amazon, Wrestling with Joeylicious, and as well your other book as well. I can't wait till it comes so I can actually have a read with it.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's the same zaniest. Anyone has reservation about reading a wrestling comedy book, and I get it. Trust me, I probably wouldn't go out and buy it either. But if you have any reservations about it, go on my YouTube page, or go on my Instagram account at Joey Cassata and look at one of the short episodes that are on there, whether it's with Mick Foley or Rowdy Piper or Tito Santana or the Iron Sheik, like we said. Watch a 5-minute episode and you will get a gist of what this show and this book is all about. And the same zaniness that you see in those episodes are in this book. There's a scene that I can't wait to film in this book with Ric Flair, not to give, the storyline away, but Ric Flair is a big part of this book. And there's a scene in this where, it's like a 2-parter scene where it opens up where him and I are shopping for, dress suits, because Joeylicious, is kind of a bum, a New York, Brooklyn bum. And, he's looking for new threads, and Ric Flair brings him to this high-end suit store to buy suits, and by the end of the scene, we're kind of ripping the suits off, we're elbow dropping them, like he used to do in the ring at WCW. And then fast forward, at the end of that episode and that chapter in the book, Ric Flair and I are battling a group of senior citizens at a bingo hall. So, film an episode of Ric Flair, dropping elbows on, suits, and then battling, senior citizens in wheelchairs. It's just going to be epic.
Unbelievable.
So is there anybody that you haven't had on the show yet that you want to get? Do you have your sights on, or?
There's so many. I mean, unfortunately, these wrestlers are dropping like flies, and it's such a sad thing.
Yeah.
Right before Warrior passed,
Oh.
him and I were exchanging emails, and Warrior was 100% wanted to be part of the show. He loved the idea. We were even co-writing a script together to kind of come up with what would be best for his character on the show. And, we had some filming dates scheduled, and he actually emailed me one day saying, Joe, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to indefinitely postpone because I just got the notification that I'm going into the WWE Hall of Fame. And, a couple weeks later, obviously he went and got inducted and passed away shortly after. So we never got to conclude what would have been an amazing episode of Wrestling with Joeylicious.
And how is he outside of like being the Warrior character, like in real life? What was it like dealing with him?
Well, I never got the chance to meet him, but and I never even spoke to him on the phone, but we exchanged, probably a dozen emails together. And, these wrestlers, it's funny. Everyone always asks me, how do you get all these wrestling legends on board? How do you, what do you have? How do you figure out how to get these guys? It has nothing to do with anything. All it is hard work and determination. I'm just like everyone else. I'm a wrestling fan. I literally did the legwork. I went out there. Not only did I write a show and wrote scripts and stuff, of course, but I did the legwork. I reached out to managers. I reached out to agents. I reached out to the wrestlers themselves. And, the trickiest part is getting around their managers and or agents. And once you can kind of navigate past them and deal with the wrestlers directly, they're amazing to work with. Even Mick Foley, I had a stumbling block. I was working with his manager back and forth for a while. And, his manager was just like, nah, I don't think Mick is going to be, interested in a show like this. It just seems a little too campy for him and blah, blah, blah. And, me being, the dumb idiot that never takes no for an answer, I went around him and finally got a hold of Mick's contact number through Jimmy Snuka, who had a contact for him. And I emailed Mick the short with Jimmy Snuka. And Mick was like, oh, my God, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. When do you want to do it? I'm in.
What was going through your head when you find out you're going to be working with Jimmy Snuka? You must have been over the moon.
It's funny. I don't get starstruck very often. Like I said, I toured with Kiss. I worked with so many great stars on Z-Rock, obviously from Chris Jericho, Sebastian Bach, Joan Rivers, and Dave Navarro. But working with Jimmy, it was one of the first times that I did feel a little bit of that starstruckness, and I never felt it before. But I was literally, it's because I wrote it and came up with the idea myself. I wrote this script, on my couch in Brooklyn, and fast forward 2 months later, I'm sitting on a park bench in the Bronx in New York with Jimmy Snuka. And I'm literally going over the dialogue with him. And as we're going over the dialogue, even though Jimmy was probably, 70 around this time, he still looked like the Superfly. So people would be driving by, honking the horn, stopping traffic, screaming, Superfly, Superfly. They recognized him immediately. And it was the first time I had a little out-of-body experience. And I said, wow, I can't believe, 5, 6, 7-year-old Joey that, got into wrestling by watching the Jimmy Snuka Don Morocco feud is now sitting, getting ready to take a coconut hit by this legend.
Yeah, exactly, right? I remember it's obviously nowhere near the same thing as what you did. I remember I had met Hulk Hogan a couple years ago at a Comic-Con, and it was the only time I've ever been starstruck. I think I even hyperventilated. My girlfriend needed to go find me a bag to breathe in. I asked him, he was the nicest guy too. I was like, "Can you give me like the what you gonna do, brother?" And he's just like, "Oh, I don't know." And then he just hits me with it out of nowhere, and I was like, "All right, I can die tomorrow and I'll be fine." Because it wasn't like 30-year-old Kyle meeting him. It was like little 5-year-old Kyle. He's got a booger hanging out of his nose, and he's in front of this legend.
And, I say it all the time, growing up in the 80s, especially that's my generation of wrestling in the 80s. My father, and mom got divorced when I was young, so I really didn't have a father figure around. So these wrestlers became my male role model growing up. So, even today, I'm this, over the top, exaggerated, kind of here with the way I'm talking with my hands and stuff. I base my whole personality around these wrestlers from the 80s, good or bad.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, I can't even count how many times I've told teachers and everybody to suck it when I was growing up in high school. Like, you grow up, Monday nights, you're there, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, they're on TV, go to the next school the next day, everyone's talking about it, your teacher tells you to settle down, you tell her to know her role and to suck it, and then you're the hero for the week. You're also in detention, but it pretty much shaped who we're going to be who we turned into as adults.
It 100% does. There's another scene in my autobiography, Start With a Dream, where I'm graduating, and I'm sure a lot of us went through this.
The Macho Man.
Yeah, I was graduating 8th grade, and that song, that Pomp and Circumstance, that I only know that as the Macho Man's theme song. So when we were doing our rehearsals for our graduation, and this song came on, I said, "Oh my God, this is a dream come true." So my friends dared me to basically, do the whole Macho Man down the aisle in graduation, in front of 200, 300, 400 people. And sure enough, I'm a ham. So, I did the whole Macho Man routine, going down the aisle, spinning around. I did the whole thing. And, it's just who I was and who I am.
You get up there, you take your diploma, you just start throwing creamers at people.
Was your hair was your hair longer in high school? Because I know there was another rivalry you had in high school and elementary school. It was in elementary school with Sister Marie.
Yeah, so
was your hair longer than what you have now?
It was shorter. It was probably like that. But, growing up, I went to Catholic school. So you weren't allowed to have your hair touch the collar of your shirt, even in the back. So if your hair was touching your collar, it was like your ground rules for expulsion or suspension. So I would battle this evil witch, Sister Marie, every day because not only was I a Kiss and rock and roll fan, but wrestling too. All the wrestlers back then had long hair, Macho and Warrior and, Rock and Roll Express and, Flair and all these guys. So everyone that I loved had long hair. So there was no way I was going to let this nun tell me that I couldn't have long hair. So I think I got suspended maybe 30 or 40 days, throughout the 7th and 8th grade in grammar school.
I know we have a couple of similar things. I'm a big hot dog fan. I know you're a big hot dog guy.
Yes.
What do you have on your hot dog? I'm an all dressed guy. Everything, put it on. Let's go.
It's funny. I'm the opposite. Nothing.
Nothing.
No
Wow.
mustard. I actually detest ketchup. I don't want anything. I want to taste my dog. That's what I want.
That's amazing.
See, are you a Nathan's guy?
Oh, of course, big Nathan's fan, especially, in New York too. There's a place called Grace Papaya that kind of grills the dog.
Yep.
So, it's very hard. Even all the dirty water dogs around town and stuff that would just boil in that water for 2-3 weeks or however old those hot dogs were. I'll eat anything with the hot dog. It doesn't matter.
Now, when you go to Grace Papaya, do you get the papaya juice as well? You have to.
Of course. They give you a little one, but yeah, I have to get it just because it's part of the experience.
Yeah, I was there a couple years ago, and I saw it. I knew it from Seinfeld because I remember Kramer was. I want a Papaya King hot dog, and I found the Grace Papaya, and I went there and I tried it. I was like, I would definitely leave a lineup at a movie theater for a hot dog.
Yeah, it's a killer dog.
Oh, absolutely. Do you watch the hot dog eating contest on the 4th with Big Joey Chestnut?
Of course. If I can't catch it live, I always DVR it. And me and my buddies from my band, we actually did a hot dog eating contest. And, I don't know if you guys ever tried one of those before, but
No.
it is extremely hard. I did win. I think we did 10 minutes. I had 15 dogs in 10 minutes. I know I'm no Joey Chestnut, but I did 15 dogs in 10 minutes. My jaw was killing me for about a week. And I vomited all over the street right after too.
No kidding.
A couple of years ago, me and my buddy thought we could do that too because there was a hot dog joint near my house. It was 50 cents per hot dog. So we're like, I'll bet you I could do 10. But because we're 16 and stupid, we decide, give us 10 each, all dressed, and we can do them in 10 minutes. No, it didn't happen.
And that's where that's why I beat the two mopes from my band, because they would eat like you guys. They put all the dressings on it, the works. And I was like, guys, what are you, stupid? Do it like Joey Chestnut. You dunk it in the water, you go boop right in. So I was doing that, and these two idiots were putting onions and the ketchup and the mustard. So they were so far behind me, they had no chance.
Yeah, now you got this cup full of condiments that you don't need.
Exactly right.
Back in the day, I know there was WCW WWE rivalry. Were you a DX or an NWO guy?
Not even close. Big NWO guy. I'm all about Hogan. So, I got Thunder Lips sitting right here too, like right there. So, I'm all about Hogan, especially, I kind of got out of wrestling a little bit. I would say early 90s, right before Hogan's move to WCW, just because my music career was kind of taking off a little bit. So I kind of got out of wrestling when it was getting a little cartoony around that time, if you remember, with Repo Man and Doink and all those guys. And it wasn't until where Hogan really turned bad. I would always watch every once in a while, but when Hogan turned, that's when my spark became United.
What's going on here? Yeah.
I was like, whoa, what is this? And from that moment on, I was all about WCW. I would VCR Raw every night, on Mondays too, but I was all about WCW.
Yeah, because it was kind of cartoony when he first went over there, when it was just him and the Macho Man fighting the Dungeon of Doom every week. They had their Monster of the Week. Oh God, Kevin Sullivan.
Kevin Sullivan with his painted on eyebrows, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's wearing like a robe. He's dressed like a witch.
But I got to tell you, luckily we have the network right now because it's pretty much all I watch. If you go back and watch some of those earlier 90s WCWs, just because we compare them with, the late 90s, the killer WCW Nitro stuff, some of those early WCW stuff, that's some of that is really good stuff. Even though it's campy, it's still a lot of fun.
Like when Hogan, he wasn't full heel yet. He was just wearing black.
Yes.
And then he went back to the yellow. And then
he had the hood
heel.
and the sword and stuff. Yeah, there was some promos. But that was all fun stuff. Yeah, I know it was a litlittle campy with the Yeti and, I think, what was Brutus Beefcake?
The Booty Man.
The Booty Man. It was just so ridiculous, but it was still it was still at least the characters that I grew up loving, so I still could get behind it. Whereas WWF at the time with Doink and all these guys, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, it was kind of it got a little rough for a while.
Yeah,
there. It got rough recently too. I find Raw lately has been a chore kind of watching it, but thankfully it's starting to come back around. But especially with AEW now, yeah. Do you have a favorite in AEW or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm a big Jericho fan. He's he's holding court over there, but you could see so much talent. MJF is going to be you obviously can see them setting up for this big giant feud between him and Jericho. So that's coming, I'm sure. But he's the next big heel, I think, in wrestling. He's so good at everything he does. But there's a lot of guys over there, even like, Jurassic Express I really like, I enjoy. There's a lot of guys over there. Orange Cassidy's really good. But I enjoy everything they're doing over there. I do wish the women's division start to get a little stronger. I think they're not giving those girls enough time. WWE, to me, their strong point for the last 4 or 5 years, maybe their only strength has been their women's division. So I wish AEW tried to focus on that a little bit.
Yeah, especially now that you got Britt Baker back in the mix. She's super healthy, and I don't know how they haven't even hinted at her going after a title. Because she to me, she's the face of their women's division.
Maybe they're slow building it.
No, I agree. She's to me the only face of the women's division. There's no one else really that has any, to me anyway, any star power right now.
Oh, no. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's and the fact that she's with Adam Cole too, so it's just her whole life is wrestling. It's not like they go home oh, how was your day? Oh, fucking Gene didn't empty the copier. It's no, okay, so you fucked up on your match. That's probably what they do at dinner. Fantastic.
Don't get me wrong. I'm kind of downplaying WWE right now, but I'm still a big NXT mark. NXT has been strong for years. Yeah. Is it as strong now? This last year or so, maybe not. But I think I have faith that it will be back stronger than ever. But NXT to me is still probably the strongest brand out there.
Yeah, it just kind of sucks that their roster kind of got poached.
Yeah,
and that's
it's unfortunate. When they made that move to USA, I said, oh man, they're gonna ruin it. It's such a perfect thing right now, and it's just gonna become the third show. It really didn't become just the third show. It's still pretty much a standalone, but it did get watered down a little bit.
Yeah, it had an indie feel, but then they just put the corporation behind it, and it just kind of.
Well, Vince McMahon took over it basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. He looked at all the jacked people and just okay, I want you, I want you, I want you. I hope to God they don't ruin Bianca Bel-air on the main roster, or not the main roster, but on the blue brand or the red brand, and I hope they do her justice, because honestly, she could be something. She's got the look, she's got the skills, she's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I know just every time, especially earlier on in NXT, especially before Sasha and all them went up, whenever anyone would be called up, I was like, oh, that's the end for them. Because I loved the stuff that they were doing on NXT. I knew as soon as they were called up, I just said, that's the end. Luckily, the women are the one brand of people that are kind of still striving when they came up. The Baileys and the Sashas and all of them are still great, but not many of the NXT guys have really been able to break through.
No, I mean, Keith Lee's kind of struggling right now. He's got that nothing feud with Braun Strowman that's probably going to go nowhere. So poor Dijakovic's under a hockey mask.
It's just terrible. I mean, I don't. Let's not even get started in the whole retribution thing. But, even Keith Lee, I think they lost their opportunity. I feel like it was last year's Mania. They could have had him, fight Brock or something bigger than. Yeah. It's just they lost the momentum, and now they're kind of having him in this big man feud that it's just not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I know you said you were a big WCW guy. Have you ever met or seen Big Papa Pump live?
I've seen him live. I've seen them live before in shows, but I've never met him. he's one of the guys that I do hope to have on Wrestling with Joeylicious one day. He's definitely one of the guys I want to get involved. He had that health scare a while back when he was on, right after he appeared on NWA Power, but hopefully he'll be back stronger than ever, and I plan on getting him for sure. But, hopefully the Steiners would be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you got. I know
Bruno's a big fan.
Yeah, he'll be first in line to watch that episode. First in line with his Steiner sippy cup and his popcorn. Just.
I love it.
The debate always goes in WWE: The Rock or Stone Cold. Who's the greatest of all time?
I mean, the greatest of all time is right here. I still think. I mean,
yeah, I know. But our later eras.
I mean, listen, for what The Rock was, you can't deny that he was magic. But
yeah,
I do think Stone Cold was better. Stone Cold changed the generation. His feud with McMahon. Without that feud, The Rock never has the opportunity to become The Rock, I think. So I think you got to lean toward Austin just for that reason alone. He was that first anti-hero guy. And, obviously there's no one better on the mic than The Rock. But overall, I got to go with Austin.
Okay.
What do you guys think?
I mean,
me, I'm a Rock guy. I'm a Rock guy, far and true. But as a Canadian boy, Bret the Hitman Hart goes a long way with me. Like I'm a Bret the Hitman Hart from day one.
I mean, listen, you're not going to go wrong with any of those guys, right? Who's the Mount Rushmore? I mean, I know it's the age-old question. It's almost impossible to answer, right?
Yeah. Well, we had an episode on that.
Yeah, we did an episode where we talked about our Mount Rushmores. Frank, you want to go first? Give him yours.
I had Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, John Cena, and The Rock.
You can't argue. I mean, you can't argue, though. How about you, Kyle?
I had Austin, Hogan, Flair, and The Undertaker.
I mean, again, none of us are. You can't be wrong, right? I mean, mine would skew again just because of the years. I'm probably not right, but because of the years that I grew up and the influences that these guys had on me, to me, mine would be Andre, Hogan, Flair, Macho. That would be mine. Yeah. Of course, I would love to try to get Austin in there. I know he had a bigger influence maybe than some of those guys, but my personal four would be those four.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a shame we never got to get that Austin Hogan match too. I know we had the tag match, but it's not like but we wouldn't have gotten Rock Hogan either. So
yeah.
I mean, that Rock Hogan match. People ask me all the time, and it's weird for me to answer this because I think the first time I answered it, I didn't even realize it was my answer until someone asked me the question. But I think that Rock Hogan match is my favorite match of all time.
Really?
Yeah. It was just because I'm such a Hogan mark growing up. And, it was talked about for years at that point. Hogan is done. He was washed up at the end of WCW. What the hell is Vince bringing him back for? He's got no drawing power. He's, they're going to bury him. And then, in that match, going into it, I had no expectations. I was just hoping, let's hope that he has a good showing here and shows everyone he's not finished. And then when the crowd turned and he started hulking up and, the crowd was flipping out, I have chills just talking about it. It was a magical moment.
Now, do you ever talk to Chris Jericho about that and how he felt following that match? Like, I know he's talked about it in interviews, but like you're his buddy, so I'm sure he's.
Believe it or not, I've never brought it up to him. It's funny, like when we were filming Z-Rock, a lot of the insults that I said to him got cut because we were short for time, of course. But one of my insults was always, I never, obviously in the episode, I'm a Chris Jericho, fanboy, and I scream like a little girl, like when I see him and stuff. But by the end of the episode, when he, on camera makes fun of this beautiful nose of mine, I go, whoa, and me being Italian and trying to be like a tough guy, I'm not going to take insults from, this guy. So I started yelling at him that, he's a hack and Hogan was always better than him and he couldn't, polish Hogan's boots. And so, we had a lot of Hogan back and forth banter between us. That's for sure.
You hid from Goldberg, you son of a bitch.
Exactly. Oh yeah,
Hey,
we were
Joey,
laying into each other pretty good.
Do you think Undertaker's got one more match in him?
It's funny. I would have said yes. I just finished the docuseries the other night. I finished all the episodes.
It's tough, eh?
I think he does have another one in him. I hope that he doesn't.
Yeah, because
he's not going to build on his legacy. Nothing he can do. Not that. Listen, the AJ match was fun. It's a weird way to end your career. I understand that, but what could he possibly do that's going to build anything on his legacy? To me, he can only diminish it, even if it's this much.
Yeah,
he's got nothing else to prove. There's nothing else he can do. What can he do?
it's kind of like when Ali kept boxing in the late 80s, mid to late 80s. It was like, you got nothing left to prove. You've done everything there is to do. You're only hurting, and he did. He ended up hurting his legacy for it. But that's why I'm hoping, an Undertaker's kind of like the Muhammad Ali of wrestling now. Let's just hope he doesn't go down that same path.
You know what it is, Kyle? It's you know what? You see everyone else go out in a blaze of glory, right? The Hall of Fame ceremony and the whole extravaganza of WrestleMania.
They're junkies for the crowd.
Yeah, and then he had no crowd, and you had to do a cinematic match to the point where it's like, wow, it's like he probably envisioned retiring, bright lights, and probably not what he expected that WrestleMania. So to see that happen, I'm sure it's contemplating his head. It's like, do I do one more match? But like Joey said, and I agree with him, it could ruin his career too as well.
And listen, I get it. They're addicted to the rush, right? They want to be out in front of that crowd, and I get it. But to me, the right move would be, once COVID is gone and we can get a crowd back in for WrestleMania, the next big WrestleMania, they give him a 10-minute segment, 15-minute segment of a retirement segment. They do all the works. They have the crowd flip out over him. They do a crazy package. He goes to the ring. He says a few words. A couple of other legends come out to congratulate him. Maybe they even present him with the ring, the Hall of Fame ring, live at WrestleMania. They still do the Hall of Fame ceremony and stuff, but they give him that one more WrestleMania moment in front of the crowd that he missed out on.
So basically what they did for Ric Flair on Raw, just at WrestleMania for The Undertaker.
Exactly.
Well,
right.
they were saying that they wanted to do. Well, there's a lot of people speculate. Let him be the only one inducted into the Hall of Fame that certain year that he's going to get inducted, to give him the kudos, to give him the respect,
But I don't mind that. But knowing the Undertaker, he would hate that. He would want.
Exactly.
Between you and I, there's dozens of guys that still deserve to be in, and I don't mean newer guys, I mean older guys that are not in the Hall of Fame yet that need to get in that Hall of Fame, whether it's due to personal reasons with McMahon or whatever it is. But Undertaker would never let that happen, I think.
I wouldn't mind if he was on the same card as Kane too.
Right.
Like, have Kane go in and then have Undertaker main event that Hall of Fame class,
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
You think Owen Hart should be in the Hall of Fame, Joey?
Say who?
Owen Hart.
Owen Hart.
Of course. I mean, will it ever happen? I'm not sure, but he deserves to be there. I'm not sure if he deserves to be there just on his wrestling accolades, because obviously, if he didn't pass away so, unfortunately, I'm not sure what his career would have been moving forward. But, just because of what happened and the tragedy that befell him in a WWE ring, he deserves whatever the highest honor is that they can give him, he deserves. And if that's the Hall of Fame, then he deserves it.
Of course.
Absolutely. I don't care what his wife thinks. The man's a Hall of Famer.
But better
Did you watch
question
any of the Dark Side of the Rings, Joey?
Well, it's funny. I was about to bring something like that up. So better question is, does Benoit deserve to be in?
Ooh. You know what? Me personally, I think he does. I think he does.
Yeah, I mean, it's shitty about how it
Yeah.
ended, but at the same time, like looking when I was a kid, like watching him, like in some even like the earlier WCW matches, like with Jericho, were like, amazing. Those matches, the tribute match he had with Bret Hart for Owen on Nitro was one of the best matches I've ever seen.
Right.
And like and
Yeah,
now,
I mean, I think, you know, if it's, I think it's been proven that, you know, it's because of head trauma and stuff that what he did and what he went through happened. And if that is, you know, eventually scientifically proven and medically proven that that's what happened to him and he was sick, then he absolutely deserves to be in. And same way like Owen Hart, you know, because of what happened to him in the ring for so many years, he got sick, and that's what, you know, tragically happened to him.
Joey, you know the story behind the Montreal screw job with Bret Hart and Vince McMahon, right?
Oh my God, of course.
Do you think it was a work?
No, I absolutely don't think it was a work, but it turned out to be the best non-work in the history of their company because that triggered the Attitude Era. That triggered the Vince McMahon character. And if that, the Mr. McMahon character, I'm sorry, if that doesn't happen and Vince doesn't, you know, cut that baby face promo where he thinks he's coming off as a good guy, where he's coming off as an asshole, if that doesn't happen, Austin never happens. The Rock never happens. All of that stuff never happens. So inadvertently, by screwing Bret, they made the company beat WCW, bankrupt WCW, buy WCW, make superstars like The Rock, Austin, you know, all of those guys, Angle, all that whole era started at that moment. So I don't think it was a work, but it turned out to be the best thing in history.
Absolutely. All right. So for those who don't know where to find you on any social media platforms, where can we find you?
Super easy. My name, Joey Cassata, written right there, JoeyCassata, across the board, at Joey Cassata, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, even my YouTube page. Just type in Joey Cassata. You'll find everything we talked about today across my social media and my YouTube page, whether it's clips of Z-Rock with Chris Jericho, clips of wrestling with Joeylicious, all about my band, stuff like that. You'll find Wrestling with Joeylicious and my other book, Start with the Dream. It's on Amazon.com. Just type in Joeylicious. You'll find the shorts on there. You'll find the book on there. You'll find even some merch on there. It's a fun, easy read. It's about 220 pages. But like I said, don't even go by the book's word. Go watch one short. If you're interested in the short and you like comedy and these wrestling legends from yesterday, watch a 5-minute episode. I guarantee you'll be hooked. You'll watch all the episodes right after that, and I guarantee you'll buy the book.
I mean, I know I'm definitely going to buy the book because I watched a bunch of shorts today, so I need a fix now. So,
Yeah.
And the book, like I said, the book is really what the show will be once it's on air. It's the first book is the first 5 episodes, note for note, what you're going to see on camera. Stone Cold is on an episode. Ric Flair's on an episode. Book 2, you know, which is episodes 5 through 10. Hulk Hogan's on there. Jake the Snake's on there. Ricky Steamboat's on there. So it's going to be it's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
I can't wait.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So for us as well, you could everyone out there, you could find us at Jofo in the Ring, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and we just started our YouTube page. We've been doing this for over 26 episodes, but our YouTube page has just started. We're on the road to 100, on the road to 1,000. Joey, honestly, thank you very much. It's been an honor, and thank you. The mad respect for you, Joey.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, you kidding? Thanks for having me. Not only having me, there's nothing else I like to talk about more than Kiss. So Kiss and wrestling. So, you know, have me on anytime. Any of your milestone episodes. When you reach 50, anything you want, even just to talk any kind of wrestling pay-per-view. I'll be back anytime you guys want me. It was a lot of fun.
Email. Let me know.
Yes.
So Joey, thank you again. Have a great day, and we'll be in contact again for sure, 100%.
Guys, thanks so much. And after you get the book and read a little bit, please let me know what you think, and I'll come back and talk about what you guys thought of it.
100%.
I'm hitting you up for an autograph, so.
That's going to cost you, brother.
Oh, man. And everybody, remember, out there, wrestling is life.
Woo!